It's a new day. Who else is growing in a city? These new day walkthroughs are a chance for me to document the work that I need to get done out here at our garden in Atlanta. Spilanthes patch starting to look strong, ready for a harvest. Right behind you see the ashwagandha and this anise hyssop. Gardening in small spaces requires creative use of what you've got. So in this little section right here, we've got 3 beds, 3 permanent beds. This bed is a holy basil bed. And we've got some volunteers like this celosia that's coming up that we're gonna leave. There's also grass in here and some callaloo right there that we'll leave some of it, but as you can see it's in the bed as well, and we don't want it to crowd out this holy basil, so we're gonna pull some of that today. And then right here we've got these gorgeous fennels that we're gonna harvest. There's the flowers, and then you can see here the seeds are starting to form, and this is when they really get good. Clip some of these tops off and get them in the dehydrator. And then here is a spent bed of nigella. Nigella has a lot of different names. In flower gardening, it's usually called love in a mist. It's known to herbalists as black seed, kalanji, and it makes these gorgeous seed heads, and we love it because the flowers are beautiful as well, but the seed heads make great cut flowers, and they do really well in the heat of the summer for people who are buying bouquets. You can see right here, you see me grabbing for these awkwardly. Let's pull one actually. See if I can get it to focus. I'm gonna harvest some of these. I'm gonna pull all this out today and remake this bed. But I will be collecting this seed, and this is black seed. Let's see if I can get it to focus a little bit better. There we go. Gorgeous black seed. So I'm gonna pop these heads off today and save this seed, and this seed will be up and ready. You can do a later summer planting of it because it likes the cool weather, and it'll be very happy in the fall. There you go. So this bed of black seed will be coming out, and then this bed behind is very unruly because there was some fennel that we left in that we're going to harvest, and then there are these bell flowers that need to get weeded behind. Come around here. So we got bed 1, bed 2, which is the nigella that needs to get made, and then bed 3 is this bellflower. It's also called campanula, and I'm gonna weed around that. The second half of the bed is overtaken, so I'm gonna weed that as well, harvest these fennel tops. That's part of today's work. Hey y'all, I'm Nicole. I'm a grower, and I am making these videos to showcase this gorgeous urban site that we've got in Atlanta. It's right inside the city limits of Atlanta. We've been here for almost 4 years, which is the longest we've been on a site to date. There's a very high turnover rate growing food in the city if you don't own land. All sorts of things happen. Property owners want to use the land for different reasons. Leases end. Landowners and the growers don't have a clear understanding of what the priorities are, or just not great operating agreements written between the landowner and the grower, people wanting to sell their property, all sorts of things happen. This site is in a very active wildlife area of Atlanta. If you're not from Atlanta, you should know that Atlanta is full of trees and there's a lot of squirrels here. So we were growing for a while for market, and the squirrels were pretty much taking any sort of fruit, like tomatoes, peppers. Right now you see some cucumbers behind me, and they decided to take those this year as well. This is the greenhouse, and I'm making these videos because I just really want to show how gorgeous this little site is that we've turned into a medicinal herb garden. You see the horsetail right behind me. There's Sochani, indigenous Cherokee herb, and pot green. These videos are to show a little bit more about what we've been doing out here, why we're doing it, and to showcase some of what we've got available as far as herbs, flowers, seeds, plants, things that are not just the produce that we're bringing to market. All right, so here's a full shot of the holy basil bed, and we've got this nightshade that's growing up next to it. You see with the purple flowers, and then this little cutie is Chunka Piedra, which we will save some of in the garden, but we'll pull out when it's inside a bed. And then this is another herb that really loves to grow here. It's called gill over the ground or creeping Charlie. It's medicinal, also takes over. And then this holy basil, which is the Kapoor variety. If you're interested in growing Tulsi, I highly recommend choosing this variety if you live in a cooler climate in Atlanta. We're at the 33rd parallel. And this variety comes back. It'll self-seed, and the seeds are able to sprout in the spring. And then this is the red root pigweed, as some people call it. We call it callaloo. It's in the amaranth family. It's an incredible green. It grows abundantly in this garden because we allow it to go to seed because we love it. It's a great food source, tasty, better than spinach. In this bed though, it does get really big, so I'll pull the ones out that are inside the bed, like this one you've seen. But in that process of harvesting, we'll harvest to eat. There's more of this nightshade that's gonna come out. This is a dill. It looks so much like fennel. The way that I tell the difference between dill and fennel is with the smell. Sometimes they just look almost exactly the same. It's kind of hard getting a nice close-up shot of this. There you go. See more callaloo in this bed. So these are all going to come out today. This Tulsi's been harvested on twice. This is a volunteer celosia. These are great for the pollinators. Anytime you plant celosia in your garden, you'll have them coming back up, at least in our zone. And we let them because the bees love them. Garden. So I'm going to do a little short walkthrough, and maybe that will be part of what the videos are, is just walkthroughs in the beginning part of the day to show off who's in this garden and how amazing all these plants are. Bananas grow great here in Atlanta. They do die back in the winter. However, we have a long enough season for them to make flowers, and those are a delicious, delicious treat. We don't eat meat, so we use them as a fish substitute. There's one popping out of this holly bush. This is a giant coneflower that you see laid on top of the holly. There's comfrey here, a little weedy. There's the base of the coneflower. There's the comfrey. We've harvested off of these a few times. We use comfrey to add to our compost, to add nutrients. This is a very special plant, sweet wormwood, and you see it's incredibly tall, 7 going on 8 feet tall. This herb is incredibly aromatic. It is being used in tests for the vid over the past 2 years. You see up close, it's kind of a lacy plant, and the smell is just amazing. We're going to be distilling this in the copper still for perfumes. There's chard in here. This chicory that we let grow is a variety that comes from Italy, and we let it just go and self-seed. There's a spurge here, some rosemary, of course the hot pink variety of bee balm. This other front part of the garden, we got zinnias. I love using these netting. First off, this is pretty common for cut flower farmers. You see these dahlias really getting going, and the dahlias have 2 levels of this netting. It's pretty inexpensive, and especially for if you're wanting nice straight stems and for the plants to not fall over, because this plant right here is this dahlia is getting to be about 5 feet tall now. They'll start toppling over, but also if you're in small spaces like we are here in the city, you want to maximize space. So this way we're able to keep everything condensed into a row, still have the pathway, and it's a short little space. So this bed right here, of course, you see more callaloo growing in. There's ginger just starting to pop up in this bed. Keep it mulched. The middle of this bed is some astragalus, and it's starting to flower. Oh my gosh, never seen this before. These astragalus plants are 3 years old. We started them from seed, and then we got more ginger coming behind. We love growing ginger and turmeric in the gardens because they are silica-rich plants that help the soil. There's some elecampane back here that's starting to flower. People often mistake this one for comfrey, but it is got more of a papery, soft leaf, almost like mullein, but it has these jagged edges, and the elecampane flowers are gorgeous. This plant is extremely aromatic, and it's a warming, decongestant, great for pulling up mucus out of the lungs. Got these rudbeckias, aka black-eyed Susans. This variety is a favorite. There's actually some variety in this variety, kind of produces these orange flame-like heads, and then these classic, it's called chim chim. Basil, we got the amethyst basil here. This is a tomatillo, ground cherry. Wild one, lemon basil, which I also highly recommend. It's very productive. Some sunnies. Rest of the ginger bread. And then this is rue, which is easily propagated through cuttings. And see, we've got the fruit trees interspersed in here. An apple, persimmon, and in the back you see a peach. We actually prune them down quite a bit. They just become extremely lush here. We're working our way around them. There's these mulleins, self-seeded. We'll be plucking these flowers out. See more dahlias and netting. This garden tends to be more wild than our farm because there's all sorts of plants that come up wild that we use for our medicines. So this plant that's growing right in the middle of this poor strawberry bed is evening primrose, and a lot of people are familiar with using the pressed seeds as a supplement for women, but the leaves are also helpful for medicine. So though we don't have enough plants to have enough seed to press into an oil, we will be using these leaves, and we'll usually let 1 or 2 of them in the garden go to seed so they can continue to reproduce. You see, this is the middle of the space. There's so many medicinal plants in here. Turmeric, we've got these millet that are coming up, and you see the anise hyssop behind. More turmeric. We got horseradish. Of course, these cucumbers right here, which I think we might end up pulling out because the squirrels are just taking every single one of them, and I'm not about to put a net over this, which is what some people will do. There's some borage here, which is so wonderful for the pollinators, and this one's self-sowed from some plants we had in the bed during the cool season. They self-seeded outside the bed. This is horseradish. Horseradish is gorgeous. It does tend to look a little tattered in the warm part of the season, but by the fall it'll perk back up. We might go through and pull off these outer leaves that are starting to die back. But it holds its space. You see not a lot of plants are trying to grow up in with it. There's a little bit of weeding that we could do. And then this is the original bee balm. So we got the hot pink bee balm, mugwort growing all in front of it. And then this is the sweet leaf monarda. Gosh, this plant's so beautiful, and you see it's got a lot of activity happening. These ones are falling down into the pathway, so we'll be harvesting it, and the way that we harvest it is literally just plucking off flower heads. I'll be cutting them and then drying them. It's so beautiful. Let's see if I can get a focus on it. This area just got worked. This Tulsi bed just got weeded. This bed just got cleared and begun being made. And this bed was weeded, third bed. Clear Tulsi bed. That dill that's at the end, I'm gonna leave here so I can collect this seed. The second bed got cleared of all the nigella, the black seed. These fennels got trimmed. I'm trying an experiment. So the first time that I planted fennel, I moved a year after I planted it. So we had the bulbs the first year, where our garden got left there, and our landlord was sending us pictures that the fennels came back the next year, and they were massive, sort of like this one that's gone to flower. And then the next year the area had completely filled out into a perennial fennel patch, which was just so nice because these fennel flowers taste so good. The bees love them, and I use them in teas and medicine for the gut. And so this one we're gonna let go to seed. And then these other ones that were in here, just trimmed them short, and we'll make sure to feed that area a little bit extra, feed that soil a little bit extra for planting other things in here, and just see what happens. This is the campanula weeded. Hopefully this is gonna flower this month. We planted this before winter started. Maybe it was right at the beginning of winter. And they got planted out during winter. So the seed was started in the greenhouse and they were planted during winter. And they lived through the winter. They're supposed to flower second year. We'll see. Second half of this bed is open. I did leave one millet. I like leaving grasses in the soil because as Hugh Lovell, the man who uses the term quantum agriculture, he talks about grasses being silica builders. They're silica managers. They make use of silica well, and they help incorporate it back into the system. So they attract the microbes that are needed to get that process going. So this one millet is going to stay here. The hops is looking really good. Looks okay, but I notice that every year it gets some sort of like rot off. disease, and we went from having a crazy like 1.5 month drought to just raining every single day. And so you see it's like pretty much dying off right here. There is some nice living ones. Maybe it's one of the varieties. I need to pick these soon. This is the parsley patch. I already picked the flowers off of these for the facial serum, and they're starting to form their seeds, and they really actually do need to get picked soon. This is a flat leaf Italian parsley. And if the rain holds out, I will pick some more before I go inside. The Italian flat leaf parsley is ready to be harvested for the seed. They're forming up on here. So these heads that are going to be ready, I'm going to harvest them into this bowl with a scissor and let them dry out. Yep. When you harvest seed heads, you're looking for mature heads. So for example, this seed head is not mature. They're tiny, soft. It looks like the petals fell off not that long ago. Now parsley seed does take a little bit longer than other seeds to develop, and parsley in general has a nice long life cycle. So this one is just beginning to get mature. You could let those dry and they might be good. And then you've got ones that have a lot thicker, fatter seeds on them. A lot of those are mature. You go through here and you see not so mature. And then this one has some mature seeds.